Hello, welcome to my guide for Kingdom Hearts RE Chain of Memories. This is part 3 of the introduction, and that's how do we navigate the worlds? What do you have to do to beat each stage? Well, the game does give you a good tutorial on how to do it, just pay attention. Now there are two other type of cards that are similar to Calm Bounty. One's called Guarded Trove, and the other one's called False Bounty. Now, what these are basically rooms that have the treasure chests, except they have Heartless in them. Guarded Trove's got a whole bunch of maze to try to find 3 rooms, each gold color on the map. You'll need a special key card to open the room. You'll start off with Key of Beginnings, and once you finish that room, you'll get a Key of Guidance. Clear the Key of Guidance, and you'll get the last key. Open that room, usually for the boss battle, and then you'll be thrown out to go to the next stage. Now, the game does have a Mega Man-esque like choose your own stage. What does this do? Well, what affects the stage layout is the floor number. For example, if you choose either Olympus Coliseum or Halloween Town for the second floor, the stage layout will be the same for both of them because they're on the second floor. So it's the floor numbers that will decide what your maze looks like. So what do the world cards do then? They are the theme of the stage. They will be what story you're going through, and more importantly, they will affect what keyblades you unlock, what slights you unlock, what enemies you encounter, and what your boss card's going to be. So they're still very important to try to get the right stages, but they won't affect your difficulty all that much or length of stage. It's going to be your floor number. Also, hallway boss fights that you'll encounter will be based on floor number as well, so just keep that in mind if you decide to go in a different order than I do. I'll try to add in annotations to my guide so you can just skip to a floor boss if you're having trouble with that floor boss, but you chose a different world card than I did. Alright, let's take a look at each individual room card and find out which ones I think you should be using often, which ones you should be saving for an emergency or a special occasion, and which ones are better off opening those story room doors, because not only do those story room doors require those special keys I talked about, but they will require you to pay a toll on regular room doors too. One last thing too, as you notice when you collect those room cards, they're going to be color-coded, red, green, and blue. So what does this mean? Well, you will need to use certain color cards in order to open a few of those story room doors. For your average door, know that red will affect the Heartless in that room, green will affect you in that room, and blue is a rewards room. For example, a red card would be like Teeming Darkness or Looming Darkness. It will affect how the Heartless react and how many there are. Green room would be like Sorcerer's Walking or Lasting Days. It affects how you handle the Heartless. Sorcerer's Walking increases the value of magic cards while you're in that room, and Lasting Days will allow you to confuse Heartless easier. Blue rooms are your rewards rooms. They include Moment's Reprieve, which is a safe spot you can create. Moogle rooms, which allow you to buy cards, and then you'll have your treasure chest rooms, which allow you to collect slights or special cards. You'll also have Mingling Worlds that you can get late in the game. This is basically just a random room generator. You don't know what you'll get. I put Mingling Worlds usually as the save it for a door or throw it away column, but it's kind of fun sometimes just to use one of those just to see what you get. Alright, let's look at some of the room doors that I use often. Let's start off looking at Teeming Darkness. One of the many complaints about this game, and it's one that I definitely kind of agree with, is that it requires a lot of grinding. While I don't usually mind this when I play this game, I can certainly understand that complaint because you do have to battle a lot. Teeming Darkness is great for when you do need to grind. It's a huge room. It's got a lot of things to smash for extra cards and Moogle points, and it's got a lot of enemies. There's like something like 15 to 20 battles per room, so it takes a while if you really want to just clear out the whole room of Heartless, and in the process you'll be collecting room cards and tons of EXP. So it's worth at least once per floor using a teeming darkness and clearing it out. It'll keep you on level pretty easily. On the complete opposite end of the spectrum, you'll have feeble darkness, which decreases the heartless cards in battle by 2 and is a much smaller room to get around in. Still, it's kinda easier if you are having trouble with enemies in the area, or if you just want a smaller room to go through quicker because you think you're going to be backtracking. Feeble darkness I don't use as much as teeming darkness, but it does have its uses. I recommend using it whenever you're in a pinch. And finally, for the red cards, there is sleeping darkness. Here you'll get an ultra small room. In the GBA version, it's almost impossible not to collide with a sleeping heartless because the room is so small. Here, it's a little bigger and you can explore around, but all the enemies are sleeping. They won't move. You can get around them. And if you do collide into one, they're going to be asleep, so you can either run away or ambush them. Perfect again if you're having a hard time or if you're just in a hurry and you want to sneak around enemies. I generally use this card to ambush a few heartless if I'm looking for cards or just an easy way to level up. Alright, let's talk about the green cards now. Green cards power you up and affect you more than the heartless, with the exception of stagnant space, which I guess should technically be a red. I guess they decided they needed another green card, because that slows heartless down, while the looming darkness, which speeds them up, is a red card. Go figure. Anyways, there are no real green cards that I have a beef with and say throw away. They're all useful at some point or another, depending on the deck you're building. Now, I personally like Strong Initiative and Sorcerer's Walking more than Alchemic Walking or Martial Walking. Mainly because Martial Walking increases the value of your Keyblade cards, which you might think is good at first. However, it screws up the sleights because they're so number-oriented. And I never put much items in my deck, so Alchemic Walking isn't as important to me as it might be for someone else. So keep that in mind. Anyways, I'm going to rattle off a few of my favorite green cards to use here. Anyways, Strong Initiative is one of my favorite cards to use. The room's a little bit of a pain to get around. It's kind of shaped like a giant 3D Donkey Kong stage design where, you have to climb up ladders and stuff to get around, but it's pretty fun. What's nice about this one is if you start a battle by hitting a Heartless like I just did, all the Heartless you get, at least at first, have most of their HP down to 0. You have to start the battle by hitting the Heartless with the Keyblade, otherwise it won't work. But it's a nice way to get an upper hand and to get some free EXP from weak and heartless. Another one of my favorite room cards to use is called Sorcerer's Walking. Like Strong Initiative, it does kind of have some hills, except it's a little easier to navigate. But what's great about this one is that all your magic cards are increased by 2 points. So they're harder to break, and because magic sleights don't depend on value to activate, you don't get anything screwed up. You just have cards that are harder to break. So it's fairly nice to use this, especially in later worlds where the Heartless themselves might have higher than normal attack cards to break your sleights. Alright, Lasting Days is also another favorite one. Like Strong Initiative, this one's special ability requires you to strike first. If you manage to strike a Heartless first, their amount of time they are dazed increases a whole bunch, meaning, again, easier ambush. While I prefer Strong Initiative above Lasting Days if I have a choice, I personally will use Lasting Days quite a bit too. It's a very good way to get a jump on the Heartless before they start moving around. When it comes to blue cards, you're going to want quite a few of them in your hand, but you will probably also be throwing these away the most often as well. You're going to want a few of them, but you don't want to have them crowding out your whole world deck either, mainly because they're only useful once or twice and in certain situations, but when you need one, you'll want to use one. Alright, let's start off with all of them so I can tell you about them. First, we have the Moment Reprieve. Now, if you're a pro like me, you're not going to be using this one that often. But if you're first timing through it, you might want to keep a few of these on hand. They create save rooms. Very handy. Then you'll have the bounty cards. What these do is give you a treasure chest. Now each world has a special slight or item to give you if you use this card. Now the second time you use this card in a world, you'll get a generic card, so it's only a one-time only thing. Now there are two other type of cards that are similar to bounty. One's called guarded trove, and the other one's called false bounty. Now what these are basically rooms that have the treasure chests, except they have heartless in them. Guarded trove's got a whole bunch of heartless flying around the treasure chest guarding it. Well, false bounty has the same thing, except 3 treasure chests, and only one of them has a real treasure. The other 2 have heartless fights. Don't know exactly the reason why they invented these rooms, other than it's always kind of fun to go into a room and just battle heartless for a treasure chest, I guess. Last and certainly not least is the Moogle Room card. Using this one creates a room with a Moogle in the middle of it. Talking to him will give you a free set of cards, and then he'll open up a little shop where you can buy these random booster packs of either attack, magic, or item card using the Moogle points, which are these little red balls that you've been finding and collecting. You can also trade cards for Moogle points to buy other booster decks and try your luck there. Now when you first get him on the bottom set of floors, his decks are going to be weak and cheap, but as you go up, the decks cost more, and what you'll get will be more varied and more powerful, and they change from each time you get a new deck of world cards. So it's kind of cool to check in with this guy every 3 or 4 floors just to make sure your deck is upgraded. And if you are having problems beating a boss or getting past an area, opening up a Moogle room and spending some Moogle points might be your ticket to solving the problem. Alright, now I'm going to talk about 2 red cards that I put in a similar category as the blue cards, except for the blue cards I'm going to be using 1 or 2 of them each stage. These I'm going to be using once or twice for the whole game. You want to be careful with one of them especially. The first room I'm talking about can really screw you up if you don't know what you're doing. The second room should be saved for emergencies if you get stuck or if you really want a certain card. Alright, before I go into this room, I should tell you what premium cards do, because this knowledge will keep you from screwing up your deck. Alright, a premium card has less CP value to it when you put it in your deck than a regular card of its kind. Because it costs less to put in your deck, you can put more cards in your deck with these. However, they're only used once per battle. Whether they're used in a slight or not, they're gone after one use. So, put cards that have high CP that you use in slights, especially the ones that you begin in slights, and turn them into premium cards. It's an excellent way to get a few more extra cards in your deck that might give your deck the added boost it needs. But don't go crazy and turn all your cards into premium cards. You only want a small handful of your cards premium cards. Because if you turn your whole deck into premium cards, you'll run into the number one problem, question, and frustration I get on message boards about this game towards the end. And that is, all my cards have disappeared. And it's because they turned all their cards into premium cards. How do I know? Because I did it the first time through this game. And I didn't know better. Nowhere in the game's tutorial does it mention these cards. You have to look in the instruction booklet in order to find them. And the HD remixes don't come with said instruction booklet, so now I feel like you've been warned. Let's talk about the premium rooms and what they do. And oh, just a note, if you are new to the game, you might want to save your data first before you enter one of these rooms. Like I said, very valuable and very important room, but it can screw up your deck if you're not careful. In premium rooms, whenever you engage in battle, there is a higher than usual expectation that the enemies will drop a golden P card that you can collect. What this does is after the battle is over, a little roulette window will open up containing every card in your deck that isn't an item card or a premium card already. Pressing X with wherever the counter stops will turn that card into a premium, so it's a bit of a gamble. That said, the roulette wheel doesn't go too fast, and you're usually able to get a good feeling of what card's going to be turned into a premium card. Like I said, if you're unsure, save first. You can also cancel out of this once it opens up. Again, premium cards are important and very valuable cards to have, but they can screw up your deck if you turn the wrong card into a premium card. So watch what you're doing when you're doing this. Alright, roulette rooms are the next card I want to talk about that I sometimes use. Basically, roulette rooms are something that's new in the RE Chain of Memories version that weren't in the Game Boy Advance. Whenever you enter a roulette room, you'll be able to collect a blue R card from enemies sometimes. Winning the battle this time will open up a roulette room full of different room cards with different values and colors to pick from. This is kind of handy in case you want or need a room, especially a blue room like a Calm Bounty, to get a special ability, or if you're against a door that you don't have the number to. And that's the main reason why this was added. A lot of people got stuck in the original GBA version because they came across a door that required a certain color and a certain value in order to open, and they couldn't get that card. Roulette Room will make this a lot easier. However, there's another card that will also really help you if you're worried about running up against that problem. Alright, the next 3 room cards I'm going to be talking about are rooms you don't want to create and enter. They're not that great, and they can sometimes cause you problems. The first 2 room cards I'm going to say throw out are the white and black room cards. These are red cards, and basically they summon either the white mushrooms or black mushrooms from the first game. Remember them? Destroying the black mushrooms or helping the white mushrooms, if you got the magic cards to do it, will give you the premium card slot. You know what's an easier way to get a premium card shot and get more EXP? Creating a premium room. So when you get these things, just throw them away. Here's a card that adds absolutely no point. Bottomless Darkness. Using this card transforms the whole terrain into a gigantic dark black room filled with nothing but shadows, and a whole bunch of shadows. Even the battles are hard to see them. I have no idea what the point of this room is, as you just fight Shadow and get the EXP that shadows give you when you defeat them. If you're going to look for a room filled with Heartless, use Teeming Darkness. You'll get Heartless that are worth more EXP, and you'll have things you can bash for extra key cards and Moogle points. So overall, I find this room kind of pointless. It is fun to use every once in a while, I guess, if you just want to beat up Shadow Heartless, but overall, I think it's probably the most worthless card in the game. There is one last card I want to warn you about. It's not a bad card to use, but it's one I want to say use with caution, and that is Almighty Darkness, a card you'll get in the second deck of Disney Worlds. Basically, when you enter one of these rooms, the Heartless card values go way up and they'll break a lot of your cards. Still, it's not a bad room to use to test your deck. Also, if you're someone who's trying to collect all the enemies' cards, either for trophies or just to say you did it, you're going to be needing this room because it increases the chance of collecting enemy cards. I don't use it that often, but it's not bad nor good. It's just something you need to be cautious of. If you have a crappy deck, an Almighty Darkness room will probably kill you. Finally, there are 2 cards that you'll get that are quote-unquote special cards. The first one is going to be the Room to Rewards card. This one starts to appear randomly and rarely once you hit the second group of Disney Worlds. You'll need them to open up special rooms that have extra slights, key cards, and other spell cards in them. Some of these rooms are worth getting into, others aren't, and you won't find out often until after you open them. I will go through all of these rooms in my guide, so if you're curious, just check that out. Now, the other room card that you'll find is the Random Joker. Random Joker is the same thing as Mingling Worlds if you use it on a regular room. It just gives you a random room. However, it's very useful in paying those tolls into those story doors that I've been telling you about. So if you have a toll that you can't pay to enter a special room, use a Random Joker and save them for that whenever you get them. They're useless for regular rooms, great for paying those high tolls that you can't afford to get into other rooms. Well, that's it for this video and topic. I only touched on a handful of room cards that you can get in Kingdom Hearts RE Chain of Memories. However, I did tell you the ones that I use often, the ones I use in a special occasion, and ones to avoid like the plague, as well as tell you what the Random Joker is best used for. So please do take notes on this video if you're having trouble. My next video and final introduction video will be advice on how to build a deck, and finally some mistakes people make that completely ruin this game. So I'll see you next time on my next video.